I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of the November 8th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Okay, move. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Under communication, we've got the WPCF monthly operating report summary in November 2023.
Okay, so I'll go through this as normal. If you have any questions, let me know. Especially if you have a question, let me know. Probably some of it's going to be a little
It's like a different language. but-
yeah, probably for now, but that's okay. So in terms of flow in November, we averaged 3.5 million. Removal efficiencies for BOD and TSS were 97.3 and 97.8, which is just suspended solids in food, basically. Effluent ammonia was 0.42. We averaged 21 pounds under the permit, which was removal efficiency of 85% for nitrogen. We're not under phosphorus permit for the winter, but we averaged 2.3 milligrams a liter, and our cake solids were 23.7%. And I'll just go to that graph real quick. I made this just to kind of, when we talked about the polymer changes we were making and some of the parameters, so you can see we went up about 15% on the cake, which means we're sending out less volume and more solids, so we're saving money on that. So you can see the chart for the month should get it a little higher, but 15% is pretty good for the changes we made. Any questions on that?
So before we go any further, Phil, I apologize here not introducing. We have a new member to the committee.
Hi, Phil. My name is Jigesh Shaw.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Let's see, so that concludes the report on that. Any questions? So we're still doing well with the phosphorus.
Yeah, we were under phosphorus for the whole summer, because we only have it 7 months out of the year, April 1st to October 31st. So we were under the entire time, and then nitrogen we've been under 11 out of 12 months, so should be through December as well, barring no huge storms or anything.
If you could explain, and this report, does this go to the state every month?
So some of these numbers on this report go to the state. If I had the full state report at the meeting, you guys would probably fall asleep because there's so much data we send out. But a portion of this, we use like the nitrogen numbers we use, the flow, the biological oxygen, suspended solids, that all goes to the state. And then there's a lot more included in it, but we send out monthly operating reports, discharge monitoring reports, the EPA, nitrogen reports, solid reports. So pretty much anything we do here and any lab work we do gets sent to DEP and EPA. So
And if you have any trouble over the month, then
Yep.
obviously that gets things.
yeah, if we have a violation or anything like that, we submit them. And obviously if it's a storm event or if it's a mechanical failure, the state understands that, obviously. We don't have many here, knock on wood. Some things are just out of your control, obviously, but we try to prevent anything that would come up. So
Okay. Then we've got the project engineers report dated November 2023.
So I'll go through this quick. We cleaned out the Patrick Flood pump station. That is a suction lift station. So we basically primed the pumps to pump the water. We started doing this about 7 years ago. Did some pictures we took of it. So we have to set everything up, make vac comes. We have 2 bypass pumps that basically pull from the manhole in front of the well. Yeah.
1 second. If you could kind of boil down what our system involves here is.
Yeah. You want me to go over like the pump
Actually,
stations
from
and
the,
how?
you know, from the when he
Collection
flushes his
system in.
toilet.
Yeah, so a station like this would basically be if you imagine, you know where the West Farms Mall is?
Yep.
Well, we take anything from the mall that also comes to the plant. Yukon comes here, some from Burlington comes here. So if you imagine that huge hill, it's gotta be pumped here.
Yeah,
So there's pump stations that raise the level of it and then pump it up through a forest main, so everything comes back here.
okay,
So typically, any of the homes or apartments in this town flow into a pump station if it has to be pumped or that's gravity fed to the plant. So we have 17 different stations. So in addition to everything out here, there's 17 stations that we oversee that also pump everything here. So
this only applies to houses or businesses that have public.
yeah,
Okay.
so if you have to basically, if you're elevation wise, you can't go gravity to the plant, sent to a pump station is pumped. So, and we have a ton of different ones. So this would be an example of one that we have. This was the wet well after we cleaned it. So basically we set everything up to bypass it because we closed the whole station. McVac, which is a separate company, goes down and cleans it. But we have to take all the flow from that station, which is on average about 600,000-700,000 gallons a day, and pump it while the station's being cleaned. So that's kind of what you see in the whole setup here with the pumps.
So what this report, kind of identified or whatever it is that you can imagine, I believe it was quoted that the sewer plant, I think, is the most valuable asset the town has. It's higher than any other facility in the town. But it required a lot of maintenance, and we went through an update, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we did an extensive expansion and update to a lot of the equipment here, so. But, so this report covers both the various piping systems and the various pump station, which, what do we have? How many?
17.
17 pump stations, and they vary in years from the oldest is
1969.
1960.
I don't even like saying it.
What's that?
All states.
Tunxus, well, Allstate and Harlan, we've done pumps in INC, so the guts are like 1969, but everything's pretty much been replaced. So, but yeah, so this covers, like Jim was saying, the pump stations, the collection system, the plant, vehicles, everything. And like most people don't know, the upgrade here was $70 million, but that was just for the plant with existing equipment. So if you were to build this, I mean, you're probably $250 million from scratch. And then on top of it, you have your collection system, which is easily in the billions.
Wow.
I mean, we have 175 miles of sewer that we're in charge of, so we try to clean it every couple of years. So I always say it's like we can control everything that happens in here to the best we can, but what happens out there, you know, a lot of it, we don't know what's coming in. So what UConn gives us or West Farms so there's a lot of moving parts that goes into it.
So occasionally, somebody will dump something in that, you know,
Yeah,
So
they shouldn't have, or some company might have a spill or something like that.
Or there's a pants down.
yeah, you name it, we've had it come in.
It shuts down the.
Yep.
Pump.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
So Patrick Flood,
so that's how they get them down the toilet.
yeah, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
We still don't know how they get them down, but so Patrick Flood, we removed 15 tons of debris and grit, which is basically just like rags, grit, like dirt, coffee grounds, pieces of bricks. Again, how they get in there, I have no idea, but they do. So that was one of the big projects last month for the pump stations. Devilwood Station, we replaced the high float. We noticed some issues when it was in backup mode. It was caused by the float switch was bad. West Farms, we also cleaned the wet well there on November 28th. Snowberry, we cleaned the wet well. It's cleaned annually per our preventative maintenance program. Some of the wet wells we can do ourselves. All the ones that are extremely large, like Hyde Road, Yukon, Batterson, we outsource it to McVac because their trucks are they're more powerful. Pump station upgrades and collection systems. We finished replacing the RTU batteries in the pump stations. They provide backup for all the call-out systems in the event of a power outage. We also cleaned debris in the intersection of East Shore Drive and Circle Drive. Burlington is putting in a flow meter there, so we got everything prepped. We jetted the entire Snowberry neighborhood. We realized we were getting some debris in the wet well that we typically don't get there. We did find snow stakes that were put in the manhole covers. I don't know how. I imagine maybe kids probably stuck them through.
Now, I don't know when my memory correct or not, but
Yep.
didn't we have that same kind of thing with the surveyor sticks or something in?
We had some by, not Westwoods.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, we
had.
had a couple issues that in the past, and I know when we've seen them, it's a lot of like the younger kids are just putting them through the manholes because they don't know. But the surveying sticks are almost like you really have to force them in because it's like almost the same diameter. So we got them out, we cleaned them. I'm probably gonna put some flyers in the mailboxes because we just discovered this like 2 weeks ago. We assisted highway in cleaning and vacuuming the garage shop drains after leaf season. They get clogged with debris, so we just suck them out. And we continued to inspect and clear right of ways. Repairs and maintenance at the plant. The new parameters were added for the dewatering presses, and we installed the filter for the polymer system. So, like we were going over on the graph, we've increased the solids about 12 to 15%, which is going to reduce hauling costs. We serviced all the WPCF snow removal equipment, winter in preparation for the winter. Hot Company serviced the nitrate, ammonia, and UVT probes. On November 11th, operation and maintenance had a fault with control gate 3 in the dewatering building. We're having the manufacturer come out to look at it. It's basically the gate that controls the actuator for the solids. So when it drops into the roll off, the gates open up and let it drop on 3 different humps. So we can run it in manual. The guys set it in the morning and in the afternoon when it changes, but they're going to come out and look this month at it. We installed a new hose reel in the UV room to help reduce tripping hazards. And November 29th, the grinder in the Headworks building became clogged with debris entering the plant. Operators and maintenance disassembled the conveyor and removed the blockage. We were back online pretty quickly. I have some pictures just so you kind of refer to what we're talking about. So these are just all rags. There's actual like foam pieces. There was a mop head, and this thing that cuts everything up basically got clogged. And this is what it looks like clean. So these are like teeth, and then this is the auger that pushes everything. So it just got so clogged up it couldn't push anything through, and this is kind of what was coming in the plant.
Quick question.
Yes,
Now, is that all from?
the sewer.
From the home sewer, or is it also?
It could be Yukon. It could be. I'm not picking on Yukon. I'm just using it as an example. It could be like Trump Plaza. It could be West Farms Mall. It could be a home sewer.
But what about like this, like the, I may be completely wrong, but what
Yep.
about on like the main roads where there's like the gutters and like the water's going down, does that?
You mean like the storm drains where you have
Yeah,
like the grading?
Yeah,
That's a separate system.
okay,
It should be. There's some towns that it's connected, and that's a huge problem.
okay.
But here, I mean, we might find some gutters that are connected once in a while, but it's a separate system.
Okay.
So
Mark, I think it was before your time.
Yep.
UConn was putting everything down,
Mercury.
including phones and
Well, Mercury too.
Mercury too, that was my time. I remember that one. So when you ask like what comes in the plant, we had one time, went home, process was normal, process was good. Came in the next morning and our final tanks, which basically look like drinking water, right? You're probably one step away from drinking it. They were green, like teal green. The whole plant was messed up. The ammonia was cranked. We couldn't get enough air out there. And it came out like Department of Health had a report that UConn had accidentally dumped mercury. So it took out our whole microbiology population, which basically controls the process. So in a matter of 12 hours, it was just gone. That took like 2 months to get back. But when you have a tour, like we can go over everything and it'll make more sense. So that was it for the repairs and maintenance at the plant. We were under the permit by 21 pounds. And we installed the safety step on the rear of the F-250, which is just helps to get in the bed of the truck when we're moving stuff for stations and that. In terms of plans and approvals, Snowberry Lane, the application is for the remaining phase of the development. It's an additional 56 lots, and Inland Wetlands Commission approved the development at December 6th meeting. They're going to be submitting an application to TPZ in early 24. And those obviously will be additional connections to the sewer for the station. Any questions?
So that's one of the other things that we do is, when new development comes to town, we approve the connection charge. A lot of it's handled through the engineering department, but, it's something like the ongoing and, effort.
So in addition to TPC, they would have to get approval from us for it.
So for example, like, let's say if we had one of the stations we cleaned and they were doing an 800 apartment complex, right? And the station was 40 years old and it was already doing as much as the pumps could handle. We probably couldn't approve it because we can't handle that much more flow coming into it. So we'd either have to upgrade the station or they'd have to connect and go somewhere else. So lots of moving parts.
The other thing that Mark alluded to is the fact that the first report we talked about, there's a lot of chemistry that is involved.
Yeah.
Making sure we joke about it, but the thing that does the most work around here actually are bugs.
Literally bugs. Yeah.
You just give them a real overview.
Yeah, so
of
when
what-
we walk out, like there's literally right out that door, there's a bug chart, so you kind of look at some of them, but I don't know if you've ever heard of water bears before. Like NASA actually injected them in space and they ate arsenic and heavy metals and they had minimal oxygen. So we have them in the tanks here.
Okay.
So our biology base, I tell everybody, I can control what happens here in the plant,
Mhm.
but I can't control what comes in the plant, like the mercury and that. So if we have to change the pH, if we have to waste more of the bugs out or add more bugs, that's all things we can do here. But I can't change what flows in. So we're constantly trying to make a state for the microorganisms that they can reproduce, they can treat the waste and they can be happy.
Okay.
So if you think of like a brook in the woods that's like babbling and it has rapids and the water's clean, and it's basically you're aerating the water, you're cleaning it.
Mhm.
We do that here in 20 hours. So we just do it quicker. So everything that comes in here, we clean, and everyone always asks, like, well, can you drink it? It's like the water we put out is cleaner than the river. So you'd probably be better off swimming in our effluent than the river. So it's pretty clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, we take everything that we can do here and we create an environment that the organisms are happy, because without them, we can't treat anything.
Yeah.
So,
And then, I mean, very basic, we take in influence, from the various homeowners and businesses or whatever. And then essentially, the name of the game is that we try to clean the water as much as we can before we put it in the river.
Mhm.
And it's a combination of trying to separate the clean water from the solids.
Okay.
And then what Mark mentioned is that literally, we have, a procedure, different equipment but to separate the solids from
Yep.
the liquids.
Okay.
And then once we get it down to as dry as we can, and then we ship it out by truck
to Hartford, it gets burned
and it gets incinerated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
At the moment.
at the moment. Yeah, it's either, and again, not to get into a huge long discussion, it's either incinerated or landfill at this point.
Okay.
People, we'll talk about it a different
Yeah.
day.
That's simplified.
Yeah, basically everything that comes in, you say, 99% of water, it is. So we take out the solids, treat the water. The big thing here is nitrification, like fertilizer is nitrogen and phos. So it's no different here. They want phos removed, the nitrogen removed.
Mhm.
So the nitrogen is just, you give it air, so you convert the ammonia to nitrite, that goes to nitrate, you send it back through again, you give it food and it goes into a noxic zone with no air, so then the nitrate goes to nitrogen gas in the atmosphere.
Okay.
That's the process in a nutshell. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, but it's pretty much what we do. And then you have the phosphorus removal as well.
Okay.
So the state kind of studies our system. We have every, 5 years that we.
Yeah.
for a permit,
Yeah, 5 to 7, somewhere in that range.
and so we have to submit a bunch of information. They set limits on different, the phosphorus or the nitrogen. And we have to meet those limits, or we have to actually pay, I don't know what they call it.
You have to pay like for nitrogen credit. So if you don't meet it, they'll say, hey, you missed it by 30 pounds, you owe $50,000.
Okay,
But if you're under your permit, you can sell credits. So we're at the point now where we're selling credits, right? We've made some changes here. We've tweaked some, we actually made a custom tank. So we're selling them now, which is a bonus.
okay.
So
Okay, then listing of property with sewer permits issued in November.
we had 2 Mile Road, just repair of existing lateral, Bridgehampton Crossing, existing building, septic failed. While they were getting approval for an additional building, it included a connection to the sewer, so once the permit is issued, the remaining fee for the building will be applied to the permit. Burlington Road, fee collected with the building permit, and then another Bridgehampton 1,000 fee collected with the building permit. There was one other, I think.
Junior Road.
Yep, Junior Road property was disconnected. And that's it.
Okay. New
Wait,
business?
that's for the septic? What?
Junior, I think I have to verify that, though. I'm not positive.
Why would they disconnect from the,
I think I'll double check though.
whatever, yeah.
I got the lateral report the last minute this month, so I didn't have a
That
chance to go over
happens a lot,
everything.
or, like people disconnecting from. Public sewage going to something,
Well, depending if it was a property that they were demolishing, or if something, they might
Yeah. if
demo
they-
it at that point.
yeah.
okay,
You know, or if they're. Somebody bought the property and they had a house and they're building something different, obviously they're gonna change it, but.
Okay, any new business? Any unfinished business? Any other business? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So.
Move, or a second?
Second.
Move in second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I-
On the motion carried.